Welcome. Isabel Jackson with Dear Divine Goddess and myself, Jennifer Bulbrook with I Am Somebody, are putting together this docu-series called Lost Souls Initiative, and where we are taking people's stories and sharing them with the world. Stories from those who are currently suffering and not getting the help they need, even after some of them have asked for it. Stories from those who have struggled personally and were able to make it out on the other side. Also, we've got stories of those who have lost their loved ones to mental health and stories of families who are currently watching their loved ones suffer as we speak. Today, we're going to hear from Isabel and hear about her story and her brother Barry's story. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, Jen. I'm glad that we decided to do this because I think you and I both have our own stories, but we can relate to so many others that have, lived through what we've lived through and are still living through what we've lived through. Um, my brother suffered for a very long time with mental health and addiction. So I think the mental health exasperated the addiction because he was self-medicating, but I think the addiction also exasperated the mental health because we know what drugs can do to us, right? But my brother and I lived through some pretty harsh childhood trauma, and we both kind of took our own ways to deal with those things. But my brother was diagnosed at a very young age with scoliosis, severe scoliosis. um, had to have a back brace and all of those things. And as a kid going to school, like you don't want to wear a back brace because kids are horrible. They bully you, they tease
Yeah.
you, so it was always a fight to get him to wear it. And it was uncomfortable. Like who wants to wear a big plastic cast every day? Um, but as he got into his late teens, he started seeing a pain doctor. So the pain doctor put him on Percocets to help with the pain from the scoliosis. And then they didn't work. So then they upgraded him to the oxycodone. Um, he was on that for a while, became addicted. But then they furthered him into like fentanyl patches. So once they realized that he was misusing his fentanyl patches and he was becoming addicted to them, they abruptly took him off of them. Well, when somebody's addicted to something, you have to wean them off and taper them off. And that's not how it went. So he obviously decided to go on the street and, he was taking a lot of pills and buying fentanyl patches, buying used fentanyl patches, and like shooting up like fentanyl. So for a very long time, my family, because as they say, right, like addiction is not just a disease for the person who is dealing with the addiction. It's a family disease because it affects everyone involved, right?
Yeah.
Um, he lost custody of my niece not once but twice, and the second time she was actually adopted out to my our older sister. And I think that like fed into his addiction as well because he couldn't handle the fact that like he was a really good dad. Like when he wasn't on the drugs, he was a really good dad. Like that little girl was his everything, you know? He's the one who got her up and got her ready for school every day and did her hair and made her breakfast and walked her to school. Like he was that dad.
Mhm.
And to have her taken away from him just really kind of crushed him. So he got heavier into the drugs and he was doing a lot of things like you name it, he was doing it. But my brother was the type of person that even though he was a drug addict, he wasn't a typical drug addict where he was robbing, stealing, or hurting people for his own benefit, like to get high. My brother never stole from anybody, he never hurt anybody. The only person he hurt was himself. And obviously, essentially, because he was hurting himself, he was hurting us, you know? Um, but he was never a person who would intentionally harm anyone. Like he had a really good heart. And I think that's where the addiction also kind of um, alleviated a lot of the guilt and shame that he had around the things that he did as an addict and hurt the people that he loved. And, you know, like he stressed my parents out a big deal, like for a long time. And him and I, we used to go at it, you know, we used to fight a lot because back then I wasn't doing my own healing either, so I couldn't understand because I used to say to him all the time, like, we grew up in the same household, asshole. Like, you know, what was so hard about it that you have to do drugs and I don't? But like, it wasn't until I really started working on my own healing and unpacking all of the things that I had like stifled, you know, because I'm really good at like putting things in a box and like pushing them away so I don't have to think about it. Well, that's not something that he could do, right? So that was my defense mechanism. That's how I dealt with my pain, where he couldn't. Um, and the emotional pain and the physical pain he was in just overtook him really and truly. So um, it affected him with the addiction and the mental health, all of it, right? And my brother's a Leo, so he's a very proud person. Like, I don't need no help. I'm okay. Like every time I said to him, like, why don't we get you a therapist or like, you know, a drug counselor or whatever, like, you know, like somebody to talk to. And he's like, I'm copacetic. Like that was his big word. I'm copacetic. Everything's copacetic. And I'm like, but it's not. Like, it's not. We all know why the
Yeah.
addiction is there. You know what I mean? Like people don't become addicts because they want to be addicts. Like they are trying to mask the pain and you know they're trying to numb out, right? So with his personality and just like the person he is and very prideful, didn't like to be shamed or feel embarrassed. So for him, he hid a lot of what he was doing, but we knew, like, we're his family. We know what like he's okay and he's not, you know?
Hmm.
But for the longest time, he used to pretend like it was just a social thing. Like, I'm just getting high because I want to get high. Like, it's not a problem. And I'm like, yeah, but it is. It's a problem, you know? There's a couple times where he went septic from injecting because my brother would never inject himself because he was terrified of needles, but he would have a friend shoot him up. Like, this is insanity. Like, you're terrified of needles, but you have somebody come to shoot you up with fentanyl. Fentanyl, the
That
stuff that is killing people on a daily. Like,
it just shows right there how strong and powerful that drug is,
yeah,
and takes over one's own, you know, what even what they want, like, you know. And you know, I know you said like, you know, you were good at putting your emotions in that and kind of like putting them in a box, and it sounded like that's what he was trying to do with the drugs, is he was trying to put these emotions
yeah,
in a box by taking these drugs. But we
he
all know
absolutely
like
was.
that doesn't happen, right? It doesn't work that way. And then I think he just got so deep and he just didn't know
Well, he
how.
was trying to numb out. That's where, well, initially the drugs were for the pain, like the physical pain from the
Yeah.
scoliosis,
Yeah.
right? But I think as he got older and things started happening, and like, you know, when you get older and you have your own kids, like it really kind of triggers your childhood and the traumas that you have had to endure because you want to be different for your kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of the emotional pain came in and he just couldn't handle it. So he was running so far from his not only physical pain, but his emotional pain as well.
Mhm.
that he just like 2 feet jumped in that pool, you know?
Yeah.
And it was hard to get him out because he is a person who had an addictive nature from when he was young. Like, you know what I mean? My brother
Yeah.
never did anything half-assed. Like, you know him as well as I do,
Yeah.
right? So he was all in.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
matter what it was, you know? But I just think he struggled so hard. And at that time, I was kind of really judging his addiction because I didn't understand it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I was very resentful of him and what he was doing to our family and what he did to his daughter, not really even like paying attention to his pain. I was more focused on the pain he was causing everybody else and not the pain that he was in that was causing him to do all of these things, right? So as I started to do some somatic coaching and really getting to the bottom of my trauma instead of like hiding it, pushing it away and pretending everything is okay, I really started to realize like how easy it is to become addicted to things to numb out because it's not easy. Like healing is fucking ugly. It's hard. It's dark. And why wouldn't somebody want to do something to like take away from that? So I started to really understand who he was. And thankfully, we got back to a place where we were understanding each other and we were talking, and he was feeling safe enough to really have those deep, deep conversations with me. Um, and I really believe that he was trying to get help. He was trying to get clean. All of the things that he was doing and saying were leading to that belief. And he tried to quit the drugs cold turkey, which we all know can't be done. Like I even said to him, like, you cannot do this cold turkey, bro. Like coming off of drugs like fentanyl and crystal meth and all of these things, like
Talk to
it
your
kills
system.
people. Heroin,
Yeah.
like you can't detox that on your own. Like it will physically kill you, you know? Um, and I think he realized that it was a lot harder than he thought it would be, and that the people in his life would be better off without him. And he overdosed on fentanyl. Um, I was on the phone with my mom when it happened, and I just said to her, like, where's bro? Like, why is he quiet all of a sudden? Like, did he go to the bathroom? And she's like, no, no, he's here. He fell asleep. And I'm like, that fast? Because him and I were just having like a conversation and laughing, right?
Mhm.
And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, she's like, he's snoring. And I'm like, can you put the phone by his ear and by his mouth? And when I realized he wasn't snoring, he was gasping for air. So he was doing the what they call the death um, gurgle, right?
Mhm.
So I had to tell her, like, give him the Narcan.
Yeah.
We gave him 3 shots of Narcan. Well, she did, sorry, under my direction because I was on the phone, right? Um, she gave him 3 shots of Narcan and then called the ambulance and they had to give him another one.
Oh.
But they took him because 10, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds after the fourth shot of Narcan, he was going back under. So they were like, I don't know what this is he took, but like it's too strong. We got to go like get it out of the system at the hospital. So they took him. Whatever it was, it was pink down, which is down is what they call fentanyl.
Yeah.
So it was this pink kind. I don't know. Apparently, it was mixed with ketamine. So
Mhm.
ketamine, for those who don't know, is a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah. I used to do that all the
So you're
time. It was
mixing
my favorite
fentanyl,
drug
which is
back in the day.
already, yeah, You're mixing
It's a
fentanyl,
strong
which is
one.
already like
Yeah.
strong enough to kill people,
Yeah.
with something like ketamine, right? So it's like, how do these people even, like, how, right?
Yeah.
But that was just the first suicide attempt of many, um, within a week. So then the second time, he took my mom's car and like totaled it. I don't even know how he survived it. The car was totaled. And when he came back, he was in psychosis, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like when you're doing drugs, heavy drugs for a very long time, and then you abruptly stop doing that, like it breaks your brain, you go into psychosis. So um I believe, psychosis and probably a little bit of crystal meth.
Yeah.
um he was not being himself. Like he was seeing people that were not there. He was hearing people talk that weren't there. Like he wouldn't even drink a bottle of water because he thought it was poisoned. He wasn't eating food. Like he just was not there. Like a shell of who my brother is. Um, so I called the police for a wellness check and had him taken to the police, taken to the hospital, because I believe that he tried to kill himself. Because when I said what happened, like, and he's like, was what? And I'm like, accident. He's like, it wasn't an accident, sis. So that told me right there that he was trying to kill himself. It wasn't an accident. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So he was sent in on the Thursday, released on the Friday. Um, then on the Saturday, he was at his friend's because my mom said to him, like, you cannot come back here. You cannot stay with me. She set her boundaries, her healthy boundaries, which, she's entitled to, right? Like,
Absolutely.
we're dealing with this, but like, it's his problem, not ours. We're supporting him in any way we can, but like, she didn't feel safe. So she set her boundaries and said, until you go into like in treatment and detox and get the help that you need, you cannot come back here. So he went to his friends, and then that Saturday, his friend's mom was making them lasagna. Like it was just a nice everyday kind of day. Like, very sweet woman. My brother's friend from middle school. So like, he grew up around them. He knows the family well, and whatever. He just went in her drawer and grabbed a butcher knife and tried to slit his throat. So his best friend and his best friend's brother had to fight him to get the knife from him. Mom called the police. The police came. He was being aggressive with the knife towards the police. So the police had to protect themselves. So they chased him a few times, took him into the hospital. He was taken to the hospital, um, put on a Form 42, and then released a few hours later by a different doctor who stated that he was no longer intoxicated or a threat to himself without even being seen by a psychiatrist. He spoke, like the conditions for his discharge was to speak with an addictions counselor.
Wow.
He went in for a suicide attempt that the police had to tase him for, and they didn't even make him see a psychiatrist. He saw an addiction counselor when he was clearly having a mental health break. You know, that was his third attempt at suicide in a week. So obviously, same hospital all three times. Like,
Yeah.
there's obviously an issue. Like, figure it out. Um, they didn't. They released my brother at 10:47. By 11:30, 11:45, he was laying on the grass outside of my mom's apartment because he jumped from the 14th story. After he drank a bottle of bug spray, ate a bottle of pills, lit himself on fire. He was determined to die. And less than an hour before, a doctor said, oh, he's no longer a harm to himself or anybody else. And, send him home.
That just breaks my heart for you guys and for him, because the system let him down. Those doctors let him down.
System failed
Like,
him,
I
for sure.
don't understand how those doctors can sleep at night knowing that you're not even really talking to these people. You're not taking these people serious enough. Because if you were, you wouldn't have fucking said, oh, here you go. You're not a threat. Obviously, he's a threat. If an hour and a half ago he was a threat, like, what changed in that hour and a half? He got Barry got sick of waiting there, so told you what you wanted to hear to get him out. Like, even if that was the case, you keep him there.
Well, that they're supposed to know that. They look for that. That's what they're trained to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, how is it the first doctor he saw when he was brought to the emergency formed him?
Yeah.
When they give you, it's a form 1/42, because they give the form 42 to the patient to let them know that they are being held involuntarily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Had my brother been forced to stay, or that form would have stood ground, he would be here today, because he would have been able to. They said he was no longer intoxicated, but didn't test him to see if he was even on drugs when he went there. So they don't know if he was.
And like, you don't go 1 hour to the next and all of a sudden now you're not intoxicated. Like, where did these people get their medical degrees and shit? Like, I'm not a doctor and I know this stuff. Like, it could take like hours and hours, days before some stuff is even out of your system. And so whether it's, you're at your high peak or not.
You don't go from trying to slit your throat in front of the police where you have to be tased to not suicidal anymore.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, at least keep him even 24 hours. Observe him. Like, figure out what's going on,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
how long would you say he was at the hospital? Like, from the time that they brought him in to the time they released him, how long do you think he was even at the hospital?
He was admitted at 5:33
in the afternoon, in the evening.
Yeah,
5:40 in the evening.
5:33 in the evening, around dinner time, and they discharged him at 10:47 that night.
You can't even get can't even get in and out of a hospital that quick for like anything that you go into the emergency room. You sit there for how long? Like, nobody lets you out that quick ever. So how the fuck did they let him out that quick? Like, how did they get him in and out that
5
quick?
hours.
They didn't give any time to him, because anybody else who's been to a hospital, whether you've taken there by police or by ambulance or by yourself, you sit there for how long? Even
I know.
Like,
I know
for
that,
how
and
long?
you know that.
Like, that's craziness. Absolutely craziness.
Yeah.
So like, I guess like
5 hours, just over 5 hours.
Yeah. So like, I was going to ask you, like, what's your current view of our mental health care system right now? Like, knowing like that is how your brother spent.
And like, when it all first happened, I wanted to blame the doctors. I really did. Like, because when you're hurt, right, and you're sad and you're grieving, you want to blame somebody, right?
Yeah.
So my initial reaction was like, fuck those doctors. They killed my brother. Da 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 da. But the more I sat with it and stuff, like, they're overwhelmed too. The cutbacks, like, the system is overwhelmed. There's people with addiction and mental health. Like, it's totally like 300 plus increase since COVID alone. You know what I mean? We're seeing an increase in all of it: addiction, mental health, domestic violence, child abuse, all of it. It's like gone through the roof.
They need professionals for the professionals, just so that they have someone to get their shit off. Because what happens is Now they have all this stuff going on in themselves that when the patient does come it is an in and out thing because they are overwhelmed themselves and they have so much going on because they need someone to talk to. And a lot of them are like, well, I don't have time to talk to anybody because I'm too busy helping everybody with their problems. I can't help anybody with myself because I'm too busy helping them. And it just becomes a vicious cycle. And people think, well, you're the doctor, you should know better. You're the psychiatrist, you should know better. And yeah, we should, like anybody could say that. But at the same time, it's like they're human, right? Exactly. Yeah. And so
and they're trying their best, but their best isn't enough because they're not being supported by the government. The government is cutting mental health, the funding for mental health. They've cut like funding for medical, period. You know what I mean? Yeah. All of these cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. Like, what do you think's gonna happen when we're having an increase with all these medical issues that need serious attention, but the government's cutting the funding? Like, where does it come from? Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's hard, right? Because a lot of these people cannot even work with the issues that they're having, like mental health and addictions and all of the things, like, domestic violence, stuff like that. It's like, when you're not okay, you can't go to work because you're just not okay. You're not there. Like, you're not thriving, right? You're just surviving from one day to the next. So there's an increase in all of these issues, but yet the government is still cutting funding. But I was listening to one of their little meetings that they have at the parliament or whatever, but they're trying so hard to get the funding covered to move the science center from where it is now to the exhibition stadium like area. So it's going to cost billions of dollars because not only do they have to purchase that land or whatever, they have to move all of the exhibits from the original science center to the new science center, which is going to cost a freaking boatload of money. Then they have to get rid of the old science center and discard of all of that. But you can't put that money into our healthcare system. Like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
Our people are suffering. The homeless rate.
It's like, it's honestly, it's like humans just don't matter to the government. And I've been saying this for some time now. It's like, we just don't matter. Do you know that it is easier to be like, you know what? I'm going to be homeless and I've got mental health issues. I want to just die. So now the government's allowing and assisting people with their own suicide because they're too friggin' cheap and don't want to deal with the actual issues at hand, and be like, you know what, instead of like paying to have you die, I'm going to pay you to feel better and let's figure this out. But let's take the easy way out. And then you wonder why our society is falling apart and why our generations are sitting at home and not doing anything. Well, because they're taking after you guys. You guys aren't doing anything. You're taking the easy way out.
People call me a conspiracy theorist because I believe these social economical issues are government conspiracy for population control. Here, let them get addicted to fentanyl and kill themselves off. It's one less person we got to pay for. It's one less person we got to worry about. All of these things. But what you're not realizing is, like, these are your people. These are Canadians. Why? Jen, never in my life have I seen as many homeless people in this city as I do now. There are tent encampments everywhere. Why?
It's insane. I'm gonna tell you, I don't think it is like I hear people with the conspiracies and that, and I really don't think that's what it is. I don't think it is them that. I think they're just too lazy to deal with the fucking problem. They're too lazy to really be like, okay, what's the harder to deal with the problem, the easy way out? That's, that's what they're doing right now. When have they really taken like the hard step and being like, okay, this is what we need to do? And I don't think there's going to be one solution that fits all. There's going to be
No,
one, two,
there's
three,
not.
maybe 12 solutions to deal with
Yeah.
this one problem. You know what I mean? And then you have
No.
all these other problems. You have the homeless, all this stuff. It all adds up because no one's dealing with the initial problem. They're just keeps passing the buck. And that's another thing. They
Yeah.
pass the buck
It's
to
a
the next one, to
collective
the next
issue, right?
one.
So it has to be dealt with on many different avenues. Like there's not just one answer to this. And I don't have all the answers.
No.
But it's not my job to have all the answers either. My job is to get the stories out there and give a voice to the people who are not being heard, because everybody is somebody to someone. These are our brothers, our fathers, our cousins, our uncles, our grandparents, like our parents that are dying because of mental health and addiction, suicide rates. Go check out the suicide rates. The same day my brother committed suicide, somebody that I went to school with as a child, and my family used to go fishing on the boat with their family, killed himself in his mother's house the same day my brother killed himself in my mother's house.
Yeah.
Like, how insane is that?
Mm-hmm.
The same day. And he has 5 kids, left behind 5 kids because his wife passed away a year earlier.
Those poor children. And
right?
and that's the thing, right? Like, and if something happened to that guy, and in a year time, like, get him help, and I'm not saying it's that easy, and a lot of people who need help don't even know they need help or don't know where to turn, but there's people around and there is support out there, and it's like, let's put our heads together and figure out what's going to work. Let's talk to those people who have been in that situation already and have made it out. What worked for them? Give us your ideas. Tell us what didn't work for you. Let's put some like shit together and gather some actual concrete information, and not just say, oh, this is what's going to happen because some higher up rich person is saying this.
Exactly. The government doesn't understand what the people need because they're not spending time with the people to hear what the people need. Do you know what I'm saying? And not even that, you can get support. Yeah, but why is it so hard to access the support?
If you don't have money, I couldn't believe how little support there is that doesn't cost money. I was like the last couple of years just doing and learning and starting the coaching and stuff in my own business, and I'm like obviously researching like what support's out there for my clients and stuff that I can have to say, oh, here. And I'm just looking and I'm like, holy shit, there isn't a whole lot. And what is free is a wait list of like 5 fucking years. Like, give me a break. Like, by that time a lot can freaking happen, like the doctor said, like from 1 hour to the next, you can change your whole freaking persona, like your whole life. Like, it's insane to me. And it's like, what do? Like, the government doesn't realize, like, majority of people can barely survive their day-to-day finances, right? Especially now in this, with everything going on. And now you're telling them, well, if you want to feel better, you need to now give me another 10 grand, and let's hope that, and let's hope it works, because, like, it's insane to me.
My brother took his life on Easter Sunday of this year. I have been actively looking for grief counseling and some sort of trauma therapy for my mom, because it has to be funded by OHIP, because she's on a pension. She's old age pension. She has, a very limited income, right? So I've been actively, her doctor and myself, actively looking for something for her. And all now we cannot even find something. And when we do find something, who knows how long the wait list for that's going to be, because it's covered by OHIP. So it's going to be also inundated with of blood of people because of everything that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? What are the answers? But these are the conversations that these government officials need to start having.
Yeah.
Like, what they don't realize is they work for us. We don't work for them. They're supposed to take into consideration our needs as the people and try their very best to do what we need. Right now, they're more worried about other countries and helping out and, sending aid here, there, and everywhere than they are our own people who are dying
on the
streets, freezing to death in the winter. ODing on the street.
Yeah. And what pisses me off is when they do find a place to put their tent, then they're told they have to leave. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Let them stay there. And what bothers me is like, I said to my kids, like, this was a couple of years ago, like, I would like to be able to have people come into my backyard and, and granted, like, I couldn't just be like, oh, everybody come stay in my backyard and use my bathroom and kitchen and all that. But I wanted to open up my backyard to at least a couple people or a family or somebody so that they were safer instead of being out there, but my kids didn't feel comfortable with it. And I have to like put my kids, my kids have to come first. But if I telling you right now, if I lived on my own, my backyard would have a family, two families, a couple people living there for the safety of themselves, because it's not safe on the street, and not everybody on the street is addicted to drugs, and not everybody on the street ever, didn't just put themselves there. There's situations and nobody knows everybody's story. And so those judgments too is, I think, what prevents some people from getting the help they need. Judgments from themselves and judgments from others and everything else.
By them and scoff. It's so easy to walk by them and scoff and, judge them and get a job. And you don't know what got them there.
Yeah.
And every one of us are one bad situation away from being there on our own, especially in this day and age.
Absolutely.
With the rental increases and, everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane. Like groceries alone. And like, you have to have one or two families living in a house even to pay the rent because of the increase in everything. Inflation, like everything is inflated.
Yeah.
So don't be so quick to judge, because that could be each and every one of us. Like that.
Yeah. And even it could be your own kid, it could be your own brother, it could be your own mom. So before you're quick to judge somebody, just ask yourself, like, if that was you or your parent or your sister or your brother or your kid or whoever, would you be so quick to judge them like that? Probably not.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go and clear out your savings and give to these people, but be kind.
Yeah, give them a smile.
Hey, good morning, how are you? Because you know what, you don't know what that kind gesture does for somebody, because these people are human and they need connection. These homeless people, they need connection. These people who are dealing with addiction, they need connection. These people who are dealing with mental health need connection to stay grounded, to feel whole. How dare you treat them like they are monsters because they are struggling to survive the day, when it could be anybody you know. Like, it's not okay to judge these people.
No.
They need help. The government is not helping them. The system is broken. It's so broken. And we all know it's broken. And I get it. Okay, the system's broken. What do we do? Where do we go from here? How the fuck do we change this now?
Do you have any ideas? Like, I know we've talked about how there's not going to be just one answer. And, but do you have any ideas? Like, I know I have ideas. Like, one of them was like, I think anybody that could afford it, like, why not put, these people in, like, why not put some people in your backyard? And I know some people have said, well, what if what if they're drug addicts, or what if this, or what if that? Well, you know what? There are multiple friggin' landlords. There are 50,000 landlords in this city, and they all rent to somebody who has mental health problems or has addiction problems. Like, it happens in the world all the time. So there's not a big jump then to say, hey, come into my backyard or come into my home and let me help you. And like, I think like we could do it in a way where like people are safe, but like that's just one thing that you can do, and that's a temporary solution. Nobody wants to sleep in a backyard for the rest of their lives, you know what I mean? But it's a temporary, kind of solution. But like, have you thought about like what could we do? Do you have ideas?
Well, there's a lot of things. I feel like they definitely have to put a cap on the housing market so that people can afford like affordable rent,
The problem with that though is the problem with that, and I have to say it because I own my house and I pay my mortgage, and my interest rates have gone up. And so I think one of the reasons why, I don't know the landlord rules and shit, but I know you're allowed to up it a little bit. But I don't know if I owned a building, would my interest rates rack up the same as if I own this house? If yes, then I understand why the rent is increasing so bad. My mortgage went from under 1,200 up to now under 1,800, and it's going up again. And just a year, it'll be 2 years and all that's total.
Not the principal, that's just the interest,
right? Yes. And so that is why the rent's going up, because the banks and that are hiking up their mortgage rates. And so like people are like, keep going after the landlord, go after the landlord. No, we need to go up higher than that, because the landlords are getting screwed themselves, but nobody's seeing that point.
But even with these landlords, like, allow boarding houses, right? Instead of having to, get one family who's got all of the things, allow boarding houses where you can rent a room for $600 per person, shared accommodations like shared kitchen, shared bathroom, so that these people can afford to live. You know what I mean? So there's 3 or 4 people in one home. You're still getting your rent. Right? But at least you're giving these individuals a way to afford a place for themselves.
Something to start.
Because we know, like, it's insane. You're a single mother. I'm a single mother. We bend over backwards and break our backs to pay our bills because right now our economy is a dual income economy. If you don't make that money, if I'm not hustling all day every day, we're not eating next week.
No, and I'll be on the street next to the next person. Like,
exactly. And I have mental health issues. I have like severe anxiety that kicks up because of my own trauma and dealing with my brother's addiction and his mental health, and trying to be the person for everybody in my family. But I don't have addiction problems. I have my head on straight. I'm very responsible and independent. I've always done the right thing. But one bad day, and I could be in a tent next to Joe Blow because of the way things are.
Yeah. What would you say to the people out there who are struggling and they have gone to the doctors, or they've gone to the hospitals and they've just kind of been turned away or told, there's a wait list? What would you say to those people? Like, is there anything you would say to them? Like, because I want to tell them to keep fighting and keep, talking and having your own back, and don't let these doctors in the system roll over you, right? Like, just keep on going.
Yeah. just keep going one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. Things may look dark today, but the sun will rise again. Um, there will come a time where you do find what you need to start to thrive again, but to just be kind to yourself while you're trying to survive this mess. Um, it's hard. You're
Mhm.
not alone. People who they look at and think that they totally have their lives together, they don't. They're just better at putting on that mask, you know?
Mhm.
Reach out to people, talk to people, because I know it's really hard to reach out when you're embarrassed or you feel like you're alone and like people don't understand you. But the more you speak to people about your story and the more you advocate for yourself, the more you understand that there's more people out there like you than not. Than not. And you know this, Jen, because of the
Mhm.
work that we do. Every client I have, I can really resonate with because they've gone through something I have gone through. So, like we're all in this together. And they don't need to be ashamed of what they're going through. They do not need to be ashamed of the struggle. Um, it's not a weakness because anybody who's dealing with mental health or addiction, very strong people. And they don't let their struggles turn them cold because they're the kindest people you will ever meet.
Mhm. Yeah.
People who have nothing will give you everything.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it has to be that way, but these individuals are beautiful people. They
Mhm.
are lost souls. They just need a helping hand. And for those out there who feel like they want to do something, do something. I don't care if it's buy somebody a coffee, say hi to somebody, sit with them for 10 minutes and listen to their story. You don't understand the difference you can make in somebody's life. Do you know how many times I've sat with somebody and then walked away and thought, wow, like that made me feel good.
Mhm.
So I can imagine what it did for them,
Mhm.
and I remember these people. When I walk by them in the mall, I see their face and I'm like, that's the guy,
Mhm.
even though like we're not friends and we don't hang out,
Yeah.
I will never forget that face
Yeah. Or even
because
just
of the
down the
conversation
road,
we
you'll
had with him
just
and showed him the
remember. Yeah. Like maybe you're having a bad day again
and it
down the
makes you a
road and you
different person,
remember. Yeah.
The
Barry
world
was
needs so
struggling.
much love and compassion.
Yeah, your brother was struggling, and I know we had talked, about some of him in your conversation and that. And I know one of the conversations was, how Barry felt like he was kind of a burden and he felt like you guys would be better off without him. And I know he
Yeah.
definitely does not feel alone. He's not alone in that. I myself felt the exact same way in different times of my life. And I, fortunately for me and my loved ones, I didn't succeed. But what would you say to those people who are thinking that, they have gotten and they're down on their luck and they're feeling like they're just mentally done and that their better family is better off without them because they can't get themselves clean or they can't feel better. And so they just feel like they're a burden. What would you say to those people out there? Coming from
We're
you
not.
who is the family.
We are not. We are not better off without you. We are not. We experience the loss over and over again every single day. We are left with so many unanswered questions. We're left with the guilt of feeling like we didn't do enough to help. Um, I would take one more day of my brother's craziness and his addiction and his crazy talk and his mental health and his psychosis. I would take that one more day over anything in this world. Because as much as his addiction triggered my anxiety and stuff like that. And as much as it was like, holy fuck, again, he was a beautiful person and he was a beautiful soul. And he made me laugh and he loved, and he was always the one. Like, my brother would legit give you his last $5 if you needed it and go without. Like, he was a beautiful person. And in another lifetime, he probably would have been an animator for Disney, like an amazing artist. And these are all the beautiful things about my brother that we all saw that he didn't because of his mental health. And I think when we feel like people are better off without us, it's not for us to say that, because that is a lie that your mental health is telling you. And that is a lie that your addiction is telling you. And when I said that to my mom, like, he thought he was better off without, we were better off without him. She looked me in my eyes and said, well, that's not his fucking decision to make. And it's true. It's not your decision to make. She said, I brought him into this world. I get to say when he leaves. Because it doesn't matter. When you love somebody, you will walk to the ends of the earth, And now we're traumatized. Like, we will never come back from this. Like, we will continue to move forward and we will do the best that we can in honor of his name and in honor of his memory. But we will feel that loss in our heart, in our bellies for the rest of our life. I know he's at peace now. I know he's no longer struggling. And I'm happy for that, because I saw what my brother did to himself and what he put himself through, and all of the guilt and shame and how he was so hard on himself, And I know he's not dealing with any of the physical pain anymore either, but it doesn't make it better, We're still living without a huge part of our life.
Yeah.
He was my best friend. We did everything together growing up. Yeah, we fought like cats and dogs, but that's what siblings do.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had his back and he was always there for me. And like, we fought like crazy, but I treated him like my child, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But just, they need to know that doesn't matter how dark the days get, your family still loves you and they will always be there for you. Even if they take time out where they're angry at you or they've, turned their back on you for a little bit, it's only for a time, because they need a break from dealing with whatever you're putting them through.
Yeah.
But it's not what you're doing to them intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the addiction and mental health. And people understand that. Yeah. There's help out there.
And I don't have I don't have a loved one that, I have loved ones that have struggled in that, but my guess too is like, while he was alive, you guys worried and you guys got angry and you guys were going through all these emotions, but now that he's not here, those emotions are still happening, but just for now a different reason, because he's no longer here. And so for all those people who are out there thinking that they're better off to go because their families are better off, no, because your families are still going to struggle as they are now, but it's going to be more intense and it's going to be in a different nature.
Just
and
in a different way.
There's no getting out of that pain. That pain will be with them forever, but the pain that you may be causing them now, there is a way out, because there's hope, because you can get help.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't think you can.
Exactly.
And there's just, don't give up hope, and don't think your parents are better off or your family's better off without you, because that is the farthest from the truth.
That hole that is left inside of you from the loss is something that can never be filled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
forgave my brother for everything he did to me, my family, himself, my niece. I forgive him. I will never hold that against him because I know what he was living through and what he was dealing with. But this hole that he left in my heart, I don't know if I could ever forgive him. I cuss him every day. Fucking little bastard. How dare you? But then I feel guilty because I'm like, he just couldn't handle it anymore. He was tired. He was done. He needed peace. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But that hole is never filled because now I'm living without somebody I love. My best friend. We grew up together.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
all my memories, all my childhood memories were with him. And then I have to watch my mom live without her son. Oh my God. Like,
I
no parent should ever have to bury their child.
yeah. Yeah. My heart goes out
What?
to you. My heart goes out to your mom, to your whole family. We've known each other for like 24 years or something like that now. And
And you're
I just
grieving too. Like,
it breaks for me, it breaks, my heart
well,
breaks.
you're
And
grieving your own loss too, Jen. Like, I know
yeah,
you and Barry were together when he passed, but like, you guys had a really strong bond. You were together. Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I met you.
yeah,
That's how, I grew to love you. You became part of our family because you and him were dating. Like, even though you guys weren't together when he passed, like, you're dealing with your own loss and your own feelings around it as well. On top of trying to be compassionate for me and my mom because of the love that you have for us, like, you're feeling it too,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It has affected everybody.
And it does, it affects you. And I want to like let them know, like, I am Barry and I hadn't talked in probably about 6 7 years. It's every once in a while we'd pop up in one of each other's lives, right? And just like, hey, and hey, whatever, and talk and chit chat and whatever, and sometimes hang out, whatever. But it had been probably about 6 or 7 years before we even like said hi to each other or that. And I didn't really
Yeah.
know why until obviously, everything came out. But even though it's been that long, it still affected me because I had those thoughts like, what if I still was around? Like, what if I just reached out more? What if I knew? Like, and so even the people that you may not know in your life right this second, but they've been in your life in the past, those people still care about you and they still think about you. And just like you probably still think about and care about some of the people in your past. So just because you
Absolutely.
feel alone doesn't mean you're alone, because you have people with you right
No.
there and then, whether it's past or present. And so just always remember that.
Exactly.
And it's going to affect people just like, and so I just, yeah, but
My
my heart does go out
my
to you
brother's
guys.
childhood friend that he hasn't seen probably in 10 years is beside himself. And he is beating himself up so much because he's like, I should have been there. I should have, like,
Oh,
done more.
boy.
I should have helped. I should have, pried. I should have called more. I should have asked him to go for lunch more. I should have. And that's somebody he grew up with. That was his childhood best friend
Yeah.
that he hadn't talked to in 10 years. And this man is like riddled with guilt right now because he feels like he should have done more. By all my cousins,
Hmm. Yeah.
all of our friends,
Yeah.
they're guilting themselves right now because they feel like I should have done more. I should have helped. I should have reached out. I should have, all of the should haves that you're
Hmm.
doing, all of the should haves that I've done. And that is where something traumatic like suicide leaves everybody. Every person you've ever touched in your life will question themselves
Yeah.
after you're gone.
What could they have done differently? It's so true.
And there's nothing we can because you know yourself, Jen. You cannot help somebody who does not want the help. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. I support my brother all day, every day, but I could not get him clean. I could not get him help.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true, you can't help those that don't want to help themselves. But what I think like a lot of art, like this docu-series, is really trying to aim for is that there are a lot of people out there that are suffering, that are asking for help, but aren't getting it in one shape, way, or form. And that's where we're like, hey, that's got to stop. We need to support those people who are brave enough to say they need help. Yeah. Yeah.
And not even that, like, it has to be more accessible, because people who are in mental health crisis can't be on the phone for 3 days searching and calling and searching and calling and searching and calling all these different places.
Yeah.
They're in need right then and there, emergency, like, you know, they're in crisis.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to have something that's super accessible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Individuals to get the support that they need.
Yeah. And that's what drives me nuts. There's like so much electronic, there's so much like advanced technology out there and all these things that you would think they would be able to find something that's like, okay, like, let's figure this out. Like, let's have it where you press 9 and you just automatically get transferred to somebody who is qualified to help you, or just sit there and listen to you. You know what I mean? Like, let's make number 1 mean you get to a psychiatrist. Number 2 means you see a social worker. Like, do something, you know, like, just do something. And I think that the problem that I find is that I haven't seen anything. I haven't really seen movement in how to make it better. And that's where my frustration comes in, because I haven't heard anything about how we're really trying to make anything better, except for them spitting in confusion and saying, well, we don't want them over here and we don't want to do that. Like, let's not worry about that, and let's worry about how to help them.
They're policing these people, and they don't need to be policed.
Yeah.
They need to be supported.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even have an organization that's like the kind of hub, the dumping place where everybody goes, and then these people can figure out if you need a psychiatrist, if you need an addiction counselor, if you need this, if you need that. Have a hub.
Yeah.
And then start sending them to community support. But have a place that is accessible, that can help them with all of their needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And not, and
we don't deal with addictions, we only deal with this, and like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's frustrating.
And not every same story is going to be the same. So it's like, you need to really have a place that's equipped with, that's able to deal with everything. There's going to be people who have mental health issues and drug issues and homeless. You're going to have people who deal with drug issues and homelessness. You're going to have people who have mental health issues and homelessness, people who have mental health issues and nothing else, drug issues and nothing else. There's always going to be,
sexual assault victim.
Yeah, you know, and victim. Yeah.
Like, you know,
and yeah, there's just so much work to do, and I'm not seeing any action, I guess is what I want to say. And when I do see some action getting done, I feel like the action is stopped very quickly. We got to probably wrap this up, but very quickly, like about a year or so ago or something, like, I don't know, probably not a year ago, my timing's really off, but I read an article about, we were going to do these little houses in Hamilton for the homeless to help, right?
Yeah.
And so I heard about it. Then I heard and I saw pictures, and they were getting ready. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, hasn't done it. It's been how long now? And there's been no steps to being it done, because all of a sudden the location, there's something wrong with the location.
For that was cut.
Well, at first it was the location,
wrong, but
right? But
the funding was cut.
But the thing is at first it was the location was the problem, and now it probably is the funding. But you don't hear about it, and you're not seeing the improvement. Like, let's get an idea and let's stick with it, and let's fucking see if it works. If it doesn't work, then figure it out.
People up, and then they don't follow through.
Yeah. Exactly. They think it's happening.
Shut people up, but then they don't follow through with it.
They hear the idea, so then they'll think it's happening, and they won't ask questions because we're saying this is what we're doing, and then it's like, like, it's never been done. So I just want to say, like, as far as taking action, you know, I think part of the reason we're doing this docuseries is so that we can take action and we can share stories and see if maybe we can get some changes done. And
the thing is, we as the people need to take accountability for what we are allowing the government to do.
True.
They work for us, not the other way around. So we need to stand up and fight and be a voice, because we're not holding any accountability either.
Yeah.
Oh, the system's broken. The system's broken. Okay. So do something about it. Stand the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Fight
do that by like,
your rights.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to go and spend a lot of money to do this. You don't have to do any of that. Do it like, for example, Isabel's hosting, we're going to put that in there now. Isabel's hosting a memorial walk. Say his name on Sunday, August 13th at 11 a.m. We're going to be meeting across the street from the emergency room of St. Joseph's Hospital on James Street in Hamilton. There's a walk-in clinic on the other side of James Street of the hospital. There is a parking lot and so forth. We're going to meet there. We're going to do a little walk in honor of Barry and in honor of all those people who are no longer with us, those that are with us, just to bring awareness and show that like we're here and we're still here. It's still there. There's still a problem. And so we're going to do a walk, and we're going to end at the front steps of City Hall, and we're going to celebrate all those, like I said, that have lost, celebrate Barry, celebrate our families. And we're going to do so by just kind of chatting and getting to know one another, and pizza, and we'll have cupcakes and treats. So for anybody out there that is, whether you're suffering, not suffering, I don't even care. Come support the cause. Come share your voice. Let the government know, let the health system know that like we're not going anywhere, and there is strength in numbers. So the more people that come out, the better. So
the mayor's office will be there as well. We just got confirmation that the mayor's office will be there. So if the mayor herself cannot be there, the deputy mayor will be there.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
so
awesome.
Let's show the federal government like something's got to change, and we as the people have to band together, because there's strength in numbers. And if we don't stand for anything, we will fall for everything. You know, we have to stand up for the things that we want to change. That's how it works. Like, you know, if they think everything's okay, they're going to just continue to do what they're doing. We need to let them know that it's not okay, and we are not having it. In a peaceful way.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to rally in a peaceful way.
Yes. Yes,
but
guys.
they do need to know. Like, you know, we're here and we're loud and we're proud. And there's no reason for any of us to feel ashamed that we're struggling with mental health or addiction. Because it is what it is.
I guess I want to add that too. If you are going to come to this walk, please come in a peaceful manner. We're not there to cause problems. We don't want to be a part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. So leave your weapons at home, leave your bad attitude at home. We're there to, you know, we want the positivity and show the government like no one's going to listen to a bunch of angry people. That's just, you know, very peaceful, calm, come with your, you know, great attitude. Absolutely. So we should really let these guys. Absolutely. So is there anything you want to end with as we are just going to wrap this up?
I just want to let everybody know, everybody in this world, just walk through life with more kindness and compassion, and put yourself in somebody else's shoes for 5 minutes. This world needs a whole shit ton of love right now, and even more compassion. So just try to be kind. If you cannot be anything at all in this world, be kind. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. And kindness, you know, a smile, you know, how's your day goes a long way, like you had mentioned
before. Doesn't cost anything to be kind.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Isabel. I want to, like, yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing, Barry's story, your family's story. I
Thank you for
know
letting me
it's
tell it.
not easy. And this is still raw. It's still fresh. It hasn't been,
Very
I don't even,
fresh.
like, it's only been a couple of months. So I could just
Yeah.
imagine, and the strength that you and your family have is unbelievable, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, not by me at all.
But I'm
And
doing
so,
this for him.
yeah.
I'm doing this for him. I'm being his voice. Um, I want to make sure that his death does not go in vain. So I want to take something that is so traumatic, um, and make something very beautiful and positive out of it. So this is for him. I'm doing this in honor of him. And this is how my family heals. We do things like this. We
Mhm.
help other people who struggle like my brother did. That is how we heal.
All right. I, yeah. Ah, let's just leave it at that. You guys, you're not alone. If you need help, you could always reach out to me or Isabel. We're not doctors
Absolutely.
or psychiatrists, but like we are coaches, and we do
We are
have
coaches.
personally, we do, and we have personal experience in that. And like,
Absolutely.
I've taken some psychology stuff and that, like, we're not completely out of the loop, but I too sometimes feel like sometimes it's better to talk to somebody who has the personal experience over somebody who's
Yeah.
been reading a book. But just know you guys are
Yeah.
not alone. You have either
Somebody who
or
you
of
can
us.
resonate with.
Yeah. And we're going to be putting together a Facebook community for anybody who does want to share or that, so that we have a place to go, so that you guys aren't going to just tell your story and then we're just dumping you on the street. That's not going to
No.
happen. We're going to keep in touch with you. We're going to
Yeah.
always be there for you guys, and we will put it together a community that
Or
we
anybody
all
who
can just
needs
be.
help or support but is still too like shy to
Yeah.
really communicate, you can be a part of the community and
Hmm.
just watch and read and know that you're not alone and that there are people there that are going through the same thing as you, and then when you're ready you can be a part of it.
Yeah. And you
you
can
know
always email us anonymously. It doesn't have to be,
yep.
um, so just know that there's a lot of support between Isabel and I being offered to you guys. So just so you know, and we won't turn our
Absolutely.
backs on you guys. So
No,
thank you
no,
again,
and just know
Isabel.
that what we do in our professional life is very serious, so we take it serious, and there is um, a privacy clause, like we cannot speak about your situation or
Yeah,
you outside everything else, you know what I mean? So we will hold that true
absolutely.
for all of the individuals that we deal with through um, this initiative, and just even on a personal level. Like, so just know that the privacy is there. You know what I mean? We will not be speaking about your situation to anybody unless it's something that you want to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. 100%. You will always guarantee a safe space with us. So just know that.
Yes.
And we don't judge. We've been there. 9 out of 10
Nope.
times, one of us has been there,
Mm-hmm.
usually me. So
Me
just know
too.
that.
Me
All
too.
right, Isabel,
Yeah.
it's been a blast. I love always chatting with you and that.
I love
And
you. Thank you so
I love
much.
you too. And for anybody that's listening, I just want you to know we love you. We're here for you. And if you want to share your story, it's never too late. Reach out to us and we would be more than
Exactly.
happy to set something up. Until then, guys, it's been a blast, but I got to go. Have a good one, guys. Bye.